And hello. Today we'll be looking at plotting and identifying points. So this will be your introduction into geometry and what exactly geometry is. So to introduce geometry, I'm actually going to use a board game called Battleships. Some of you might have played it before, others might not have, but I'll explain exactly what Battleships is. And if you've already played it, and I would recommend playing it just because it's a good way to learn your coordinates and a fun way to do it. Yeah, so I'll explain exactly what coordinates are. This is a simple version of Battleships, but I'm just going to use it just to explain how coordinates work. So how battleships work is each player has different ships that take up a different amount of space. So this big ship here would take up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces. And this tiny ship here would take up 2 spaces. And you place your ships in this grid. And your opponent will also place their ships in this grid. So an example of where you might place your ships, it might look like this. So these two little blue trees, well, that would be these two ships. Then we have this little 2 yellow dots would be that ship. And then we have this ship here and then this ship here. So you can place them any way you like as long as they fit on this grid. They can be all beside each other, they can be spread out, but you place them wherever you like. And your opponent will also place their ships somewhere on the grid. And what you do is you each take turns picking points and seeing if an enemy ship is at that point. And they'll have to let you know if you've hit a ship or if you didn't hit a ship. And the first player to hit all the enemy ships wins. That's a very simple explanation. But it all relies on these coordinates. So what do I mean by a coordinate? Well, let's say this square here. If I had a ship on this square, how would we identify it? Well, if you were to name this square, we call it 8C. So to write it out, it would be a bracket, 8, and then a little comma, C. Now, where did that come from? First off, you look at the top. You look at the top numbers. You pick the number. So in this case, this would be signifying the column. So what do I mean by columns? The vertical ones. So this would be column 4. This would be column 5. We're looking at column 8. Then we look at the row, which would be C. So this would be 8C. Another way of thinking about it is how far along have I gone? So I've gone over to 8. And then how far up have I gone? I've gone to C. What about this point? How do we figure out what this point is? Well, again, how far along have I gone? I've gone over to 6, and then I've gone up to E. So it would be, first off, we look at how far along we've gone. We've gone to 6, and then we've gone up to E. So this point, if we were to name it, it would be 6E. And you can do this for any point on the grid. So I could name any point I wanted. At this point here would be 10I. This point would be 2F. And that's how we use coordinates. It's for locating a point with only 2 little bits of information. So, the mathematics version, because we're not playing Battleships, but it is very, very similar to Battleships. And I would recommend that you play it. We use what we call a plane. So, a plane is just a flat 2D surface, like a sheet of paper. And we can have a grid on it, like this. And we plot points on it. We have an x-axis. So the x-axis goes along horizontally. So left and right horizontally. And then we have a y-axis which goes up and down. So it's vertically. And then we have points. So if I picked a point here, how would we label it? Well, it's exactly the same as the Battleships game. First we think about, okay, how far along have I gone? I've gone to 6, yeah? So 6, that's how far along I've gone. I've gone to 6. So you do your x-axis first. So we call it the x-coordinate. Then you look at your y-coordinate. which will be up to 6. So this coordinate is 6, 6. And we write it like this. We write the x coordinate first, and then a comma, and then the y coordinate. And that's all in brackets. And we call these the coordinates. So it's just the location. It's a fancy word for where is the point, where is it located. And you need to remember all these terms. So the x-axis goes along horizontally, and then the y-axis goes vertically. And when we're naming a point, super important, you go along the bottom first. The way I like to think about it is how far left or how far right am I, and then how tall am I? Am I gone up or am I gone down? Then we have a special point actually here that I want to talk about. This point, 0, 0, because think about it, we're not gone up any bit and we're not gone to the right any bit. So this point is what we call 0, 0, or the origin. So where it originates, the origin is a special, very special point, 0, 0. And I'll talk a bit about it later. Okay, so if we were to label this point, how would we do it? I already told you, it would be 6, 6. So bracket, I've gone along 6, and then I've gone up 6. So the x coordinate is 6, and then the y coordinate is 6. What if it said plot 1, 5? So plot means just place the point. So where's 1, 5? So first off, we'd look at the 1. So remember, the 1 is your x coordinate. So it's how far along right or left I've gone. So I've gone to 1. So I'm here. Okay, then I'm at 5. So 5 is your y coordinate. So it's how high up you're gone. So it's at 1, 5, which would be here. So that's where the point 1, 5 would be. Now, we were looking at one little section of the plane, but there's actually 4 sections, because we were looking at the positive x values and the positive y values, but there's also negative y values and negative x values, and then they all cross at this little special point. Remember what it's called? The origin. So this point here, it's gone across 3 and it's gone up 2, so that's why it's 3, 2. Let's look at this point then. So how would we label this point? Okay, first off, I look at the x-axis. This time I'm not gone to the right, I'm gone to the left of 0. So I'm going into minus numbers now. So I've gone -1, -2, -3, -4. So I've gone negative, so I've gone to -4. Then how high up am I? Well, I'm up here, which would be 5. So my point there would be -4, 5. This point then. Okay, start off with the x value. Am I gone over to the right or left? Well, I'm gone to the left. I've gone over to -2. Yeah? So that's over -2. Then I'm asking, am I gone up or am I gone down? Well, I've gone down, so I'm going to -1, -2, -3, -4. So this point would be -2, -4. So that's both of the coordinates, the x coordinate and the y coordinate, are negative in that case. Then we look at the last kind of section. We've gone across to the right here. We've gone to 2. And then we've gone down 1. So this would be 2 -1. Now you'll notice up here I have the word quadrants. And that's what these are called. We have the first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, fourth quadrant. And this makes up what we call the Cartesian plane. So the Cartesian plane is just a fancy name for this whole plane. And we have the first quadrant. If you think about it, all these values, so the x coordinate and the y coordinate, they're going to be positive because everything in here is positive. Then the second quadrant, the x coordinate, so all these coordinates are negative, but the y coordinates are positive. Then I have the third quadrant where all the coordinates are negative. So the x coordinate, well, it's going to be negative because it's over on the left hand side, and it's gone down, so it's on the negative y-axis as well, so this is also negative. Then I have the fourth quadrant where I'm looking at the x values, they're positive, but the y values, since we're down here, that's going to be negative. And again, we have our very, very special point called 0, 0, which is the origin. So you need to remember all of this. But if you're ever stuck, I go back to the basic battleship game. Remember, we go along the x-axis first. So along how far to the left or how far to the right have I gone. And then we think about how far up or how far down I have gone. So that would be the y-axis. Okay, so here are some recap questions that you can do. Okay, so here's draw your own Cartesian plane and plot the points 0, 6, 4, 0, and 5, minus 4. So you start off by drawing maybe your x-axis, then you draw your y-axis, which would make this kind of cross. Then you'd start at 0, go over a little bit to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then go to the left, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5, minus 6. Then you might go up from 0, so this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then down, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, all the way down to minus 6. Now it's important, this is always on a grid paper. So this has gone over to 1, 2, 3, all these distances from 0 to 1, from 1 to 2, from 2 to 3, it's the same. So I'd always recommend drawing it on grid paper, or if you're drawing it not on grid paper, you should use a ruler and maybe mark out 1 centimeter going off in all the directions. Okay, so marking the points, well, I have this point here, this point here, this point here. Oh, those would be the 3 points. Now, how did I come up with them? Well, think about it. This point here, it's at 0. It's not gone to the left or right, so the x-coordinate would be 0. And I've gone up 6. So the y-coordinate is 6. So that would be 0.06. Minus 4, 0. Well, I've gone across to minus 4. And then I'm not going up or I'm not going down. So this would be minus 4, 0. Then minus 5. So I'm going across to minus 5. 4. Go up to 4. So this would be minus 5, 4. Identify the points on the graph. Okay, I'll start with A. This has gone to 5 up to 6. So this point is 5, 6. This will go to B. I've gone left to minus 5. And then I go up to 5. So this would be minus 5, 5. Then I'll go to C. Okay, so C, I have to go left minus 2 and up 3. So it would be minus 2, 3. D, I have to go left to minus 2 and down minus 2. So it would be minus 2, minus 2. E, I have to go to 3 and then down 4. So it would be 3 minus 4. And then F, well, I have to go across 2 and then down 6. So it would be 2 minus 6.